How is Pakistan's active role in counter-terrorism reshaping its relationship with the United States? Why is India's diplomatic stance against Pakistan losing its appeal on global stage? Are Taliban competing Pakistan in fight against ISKP to win the US support? Has the tough war between the Baloch insurgents and ISKP entered into a new dangerous phase? Hi, this is NAR TV, Narratives with Amir Rana. Today we will dive into a very critical aspects of the geopolitics. Let's begin with the growing relationship between the United States and Pakistan. It seems that the ties between the two nations have passed through a critical phase. Though since President Trump have took the charge of the White House, there was indication that these relationships will go in a positive direction. But during the India-Pakistan standoff, there was a little uncertainty had emerged that India may influence White House, Pentagon, and the State Department and push Pakistan diplomatically. But what we have seen that President Trump and his administration not only help in announcing the ceasefire, but also keep praising Pakistan's role in war against terrorism. Even President Trump offered several times mediation in the Kashmir issue. Of course, this was not the stance India would have liked most, but it was an indication that the US confidence on Pakistani leadership is growing. And we will wonder that what are the factors the US confidence on Pakistan is growing, and even the critical time when the conflict between India and Pakistan was on peak. What was compelling the White House? What was compelling the Trump administration keep supporting Pakistan? And now it's been proven and even revealed by the US Central Command General Michael Corella when he declared Pakistan's partnership with the US as phenomenal. Speaking during hearing for the US House Armed Services Committee, General Corella praised Pakistan and he acknowledged the Pakistan's successful operations against Daesh-Khorasan, saying through this exceptional partnership, Pakistan has targeted Daesh-Khorasan, killing dozens of militants. And he also thanks for the close cooperation and shared intelligence. And these are the two key words which are maybe quite important and to look into the bilateral relationship. That means that the effective counter-terrorism cooperation is going on between US and Pakistan. And it could be the one major factor which would have compelled US that to be keep soften its stance about Pakistan even during the India-Pakistan conflict. And of course, this is credit goes to the Pakistan's security agencies that they knew that the only one way for winning the Western sport and the US sport, and rather the China and the rest of the world sport, is to play an active role in countering terrorism. And this was one of the major reasons that India's diplomatic campaign against Pakistan hasn't gained attention as it always has affected Pakistan in the past. And since last 20 years, India is using the terrorism mantra against Pakistan quite effectively in Pakistan. And it has been observed first time that India was defensive and his diplomatic narrative is not selling anymore. India may look into it, what was the reason. And it has ignored what Pakistan had did during last 10 years, especially 10 years. We're not talking about the Pakistan's ongoing fight against terrorism since 2002 onward, and how the resolve had evolved and how the Pakistan gradually developed its capacities and strategies to counter the terrorist organization, not only in Pakistan but as well in the region. And this time, the non-state actor is the IS-Khorasan. And we know that the Pakistan and US had very effective collaboration against this fight, against the fight against Al Qaeda. And this is the second phase where both countries are successfully collaborating, diffusing the threat of the ISKP. And perhaps the Taliban in Kabul and Kandahar have realized that ISKP has a potential that they can reopen or they can reconnect with, with the world. Despite they have a history fighting against ISKP even before the Doha Agreement. But their new drive against ISKP looks like they are competing with Pakistan to win the US support. And they see how valuable this fight against ISKP become, that it can normalize or at least give you the benefit, political and economic benefit, if you're fighting against the terrorist organizations. So this is, of course, they recently have launched a drive, and even in Kabul, the intense fighting had been reported between the Taliban security forces and the ISKP, in which the two very important ISKP fighter had been killed. So see that the one side, the Pakistan has managed Indian pressure and first time successfully confronted its campaign against it, while developing its collaboration in countering terrorism domain with the US. And on the other side is compel Taliban to come up with more serious effort against ISKP in Afghanistan. And of course, this is a good news. And what is important, the bilateral relation between US and Pakistan, which somehow will help to keep balance of power in this region. And since last 20 years, it has been observed that the India's growing military posture is growing economic signature and is growing diplomatic posture, was somehow pressurizing Pakistan on many fronts. And even India had used its influence over the FATF while keeping Pakistan into the grey list. But now the situation has been changed. And the Field Marshal General Asim Munir is visiting the United States. And he will take part and he will be attending the US Army's 250th anniversary celebration, and which will took place on June 14, and coinciding with President Trump's birthday. This public praise from the US not only helped counter Indian propaganda, but it also strengthened Pakistan's position in upcoming and crucial FATF review meeting. We already have deconstructed that the intention of the Taliban fight against ISKP and why they are doing that, not only to compete with Pakistan, but to gain the international legitimacy. But the ISKP is still a big threat for Pakistan internal security, and its footprint is increasing in Balochistan. And since last 2 weeks, we had seen the tough war between Baloch insurgents and ISKP, which was initiated by one of the ISKP commander's video, in which he claimed that the BLA had killed many of his militants, and it had declared war against Baloch insurgents. And then they had published the one booklet, while in their perspective, deconstructing this nationalism narrative and blaming Maharang, Manzoor Pashtun, and even the BLA leadership, that they are dividing the Ummah. And rather, they are not the fighters, they are not fighting for their rights, but declare them Murtad or the apostates. It was a very serious allegation, and it had taken as a very serious threat. And what was the response from the insurgents? Dr. Allah Nazar had came up with his stance, and his interview, his statement basically was published, one of their mouthpiece, Aspa, in which he claimed that ISKP is a proxy of the state. And it has been launched to counter the Baloch insurgents movement in Balochistan. We already have reviewed the history and background of ISKP in Balochistan in one of our podcasts last week. And we had seen that how this ISKP later become Pakistan, its network had evolved in Balochistan, and what are its particular target. And they were operating in the same areas where the BLA was operating. And still we don't know what was the factor reason that which had compelled BLA to attack on ISKP. But we are talking about Allah Nazar's statement, and when he issued the statement, very next day ISKP issued a counter statement, and once again declaring Allah Nazar and other all insurgents leaders as apostate, saying that we are not a state proxy, we are basically the real Mujahideen and force of Allah. So this is a very interesting phase of conflict has started in Balochistan, where the first time the nationalist and Islamist terrorist organization are going to confront each other. And in the past, we know that the state and few counter-terrorism experts in Pakistan used to claim that the BLA and TTP, Taliban and Pakistan, have close collaboration and cooperation. But after this stuff, it's been proved that the BLA or other insurgents organizations, they have secular credentials, and they are avoiding to evolve their partnership with the Islamist organization. And even in one of the podcasts, we had discussed the factors and reason why the BLA is hesitant to develop nexus with the TTP. And the reason was that the BLA want international legitimacy, and especially from the West. And it will come to, if it will continue detaching from TTP and Islamist organization, and it would follow the model of the Syrian Kurdish army, those who have collaborated with the US against the IS in Syria. So maybe this is the broader design in the BLA, but this is going to create serious consequences for the security of the Balochistan. The reason is not that they will kill each other and it will somehow impact their operational capabilities, but when these groups, especially those who have the different ideologies, the fight they basically gain momentum, they evolve their terrorist tactics and techniques, and their focus increase for gaining more financial support and uh, recruiting more people. So this is not a good news at all for Pakistan. So one side, Pakistan is playing a significant role in countering ISKP in the bordering region of between Afghanistan and Pakistan, and the US and even the whole world is praising Pakistan efforts. They have to take this threat in western part of Balochistan very seriously, and it may create troubles and create the safe havens for both of the organization, which apparently looks like the adversary of the each other. In coming days, we will see that how the things will unfold in Balochistan and Afghanistan. But so far, there is a good news which I wanted to share with you, that the US and Pakistan relationship are improving, and let's see, it will their improving relationship will help to trigger or initiate a dialogue between India and Pakistan, which India is awaiting. Thank you very much for watching NAR TV.